Hello and welcome to Salts TV. For the last match of the season at home, Salts were visited by Bridgnorth, and I took no time at all in talking to Brian Smallman, their coach, about how the season's gone so far.
Not as well as we'd have hoped. League position's not pretty, but the first half of the season was really competitive. We lost games by small margins, points, 2 points here or there. So we were fairly happy with the way things were going. And then since Christmas we've had injuries and stuff which obviously haven't helped us.
I think injuries are something that are dominant in the Salts this year as well. Always tough games, always close games between Salts and Bridgnorth. You've got to be anticipating similar today, I would have thought. Yeah, two lame ducks. It's
a great rivalry to have, you know, and they are always very hard, competitive games. And you wouldn't want anything else on a Saturday afternoon, you know. So you know, we enjoy coming across and playing. You know, so hopefully we've got a good team that we can be at least competitive today.
Right. Where do you think the areas lie for victory then? Where's the traditional attack on Salts going to be?
We need to stay away from your catch and drive. You know, so penalties anywhere in that middle third are crucial. If we start giving too many penalties away there, it's a very easy kick to the corner, and then we're under pressure there to try and stop that. But we've got a fairly good team out today, thank God. And I think as a level 7 club, you know yourself that if you've got the right personnel on the field, you can beat anybody, as we did against Wolverhampton early on in the season, and you've had some good victories as well. So it's going to be, I think it's going to go all the way today, right to the last couple of minutes.
Pressure's off for both sides as well, so we could see some good friendly rivalry, hopefully. No too many antagonistic exchanges. No,
I mean, I certainly don't want that. You know, I think the lads just want a nice clean game of rugby. But I think they want to try and show what they've got, because they're away from home, you know, and they want to leave a little bit of Bridgnorth here, hopefully.
Excellent. Good luck today, Brian.
Thank you. Thanks, you. Cheers, mate.
With a lot of injuries this season, Salts have really struggled to pick consistent sides, both in the forwards and in the backs. And I asked Steve Skeffington, chairman of selectors, just how tough it had been this year and where he felt that points had been left on the field.
I think sometimes with the backs that we have, they're just trying to force everything too much. We're making plenty of attacking opportunities, but we're just not hitting decisive passes at the right time. It's just whether they're getting white line feeder and wanting to finish it off themselves, instead of just trying to lay off a simple pass and trying to just make everything hard for themselves, really. It's something I think we've suffered for a long time that we do, and it's with all the teams in the club that we get into the positions plenty of times, but we just lack the finishing touch. Whereas if we give the ball to the wingers like Sammy T or Lukey Turner or Tommy Lee, it will just finish every time. We're just not doing that.
I mean, I think as a creative side, Salts are always looking to create, but there's times when you don't need to create. You just need to create solidity from forwards through to backs and have another phase of play.
Yeah, that's right. It's exactly right. All we need to do is, if you do the basics right and you're fit, you'll win a game. If you can get into the positions on the park and you all know what you're doing and you just a simple pass, let the ball do the work, we'll score tries every time. We'll break teams down. But as I said earlier, we just don't. We always try and do something fancy rather than something simple. Sorry for swearing. I'm just passionate.
We've got a close season coming up, last 3 games of the season. What kind of changes do you want to see in the general availability of players and selection, the options that you have when you come to sit to make selections each week?
The big thing we've had this year, going away from the backs, is front row has been a massive issue this year. Players leaving because they get to another club every other week, and some that are in the front 5, like Steve Andy went to Bourneville, and we've missed him massively this season. He was a big carrier for us, and a lot of people didn't rate him, but he's proved he's gone to a higher level and he's still doing it, and hopefully in the future people like that will come back that have played higher levels. But what I think we do need is more stability and more players, certainly in the front 5 area, and we've got to promote and try and drag in as many players as we can, be it poach that isn't the right word, but gain other players for the squads, and not just at first team level. We need strength in depth, and it puts pressure on the first team players to then, and then if we can get more people training, and if we can get a good atmosphere in the summer, train hard, have a few barbecues, a couple of beers, and just make things leisurely, and that's building up for next season. Because I think with Nick, John and Blake as the coaches, if we can keep all that in place for next season, the club could do with this league easily without having the problems that we had this year with the front five situation with players, lack of availability.
Last game at home, be nice to go out in a high.
Yeah, it would be. It'd be lovely. Let's enjoy.
Thanks, Steve. Finally, just before kick-off, I caught up with Nick Spotchich, the head coach of Salts, and asked him if there was positives to draw from last week's defeat to Aston Old Eds, or whether it was one of those things he'd just rather file away.
I think first and foremost we've got to accept that Aston thoroughly deserved the win. They were far more aggressive in the collision area, far more aggressive at the breakdown, and you could see throughout that their senior players really stepped up to the mark. They played good territorial game, they fly half, control things very well, so there's taking nothing away from Aston when I say we were 7 or 8 players out. We had a totally revamped front row 2 props that we brought in at very short notice. We lost our back row early on with head problems. There wasn't a player in the back division who was playing in their preferred position, but for all of that, you know, we still made quite a few line breaks, and we still tried to play some positive rugby. But I think what it shows the people who are coming in is that they have to step up to the mark when they're playing, certainly in a local derby, because there was that desire from Aston to win, and they probably wish they could play us every week when they can sort of turn up and want to perform like that.
Where would you suggest that the biggest improvements can be made going into the last phase of the season? I mean, your forward dominance has been there, but it doesn't seem to have converted into points.
Biggest improvement has to come at the collision area. We've been doing exceptionally well at the collision area. Let ourselves down somewhat in the Aston game. I think to a degree now we've got to forget it. That's in the past. As long as we learn from that, and as long as the players who were involved learn from that. It's pleasing from a personal standpoint that we've unearthed over the last 3 or 4 weeks a few players going forward into next year, so that certainly increased the strength of the squad, and if we can get those training regularly, it'll be good next season to have a few selection headaches.
Where do you use the last 3 games of the season now? I mean, you're perfectly safe from the drop, there's no real chance of promotion or playoff at the moment. Are you going to look to tinker with players, blood some younger players, or are you going to try and just continue with the patterns and keep pressing with the game plan that's been all season?
We'll continue with the patterns, we'll continue with the game plan, but I certainly will try and involve some of the fringe players in these next 3 games. I mean, we've brought Zach in this week on the wing, who's only had 1 or 2 games, but I mean, hopefully this will give him some confidence. Greg playing at front row. This will be his 2nd game. He played against Aston, came off the bench and played exceptionally well, so that's very pleasing. Joe, who's playing hooker, it's going to be his first senior game this week, so that'll be interesting to see how that goes. No, we will tinker. There's a few lads I want to try. There's Seb, I'd like to give him a little run. Yeah, there's a number of players I'd like to see involved to go into next season.
Best of luck today, mate.
All right, thanks very much.
So the game got underway, and all of the early indications were that victory was a mere formality for the home side, with little or no opposition up front from the Bridgnorth pack at the scrum, and some very intelligent rucking from Salts, which saw them stay away from lost ball and never overcommit themselves to the breakdown. But then Bridgnorth scored. The overlap had come as too many Salts players were pulled into the 15-metre line melee on the left side of the field. And then with 2 men to spare, North ran in their first try through the winger Luke Stevens. Their fullback, Stefan Hildred, who repeatedly appeared at fly half, stepped forward for the kick and delivered the first of several perfect place kicks for the afternoon. Salts continued to dominate up front, turning over ball in the scrum and ruck, but all too often losing their own ball as well. Hard running from the forwards crossed the gain line, but the links through to the backs were just not present, and in the end Salts had to settle for a penalty through Lewis Beattie to draw themselves back into the game. A few moments later the penalty was nullified after Salts flanker Chris Davis controlled the ball in the scrum illegally, and another kick from North's Hildred sailed through the uprights. Salt's dominance in the tight continued, but for many periods in the loose, they appeared to be at 6s and 7s. Yet again, Bridgnorth sucks in a desperate Salts side, and overlaps appeared on the right side for the second time, and the second North try as well. Again, the kick was good and Salts had a hill to climb. On the stroke of half-time, Lewis Beattie added another 3 points for the home side, but at half-time, with the visitors holding an 11-point lead, Salts had done themselves no favours. Repeatedly, they'd failed to turn territory and possession into points, and every running line that they appeared to select was hitting bodies and not gaps. During the first half, the weakest element of Salt's forward play had been the line-out. Muddy conditions had more than played a part in the quality of the line-out ball, but handling was also poor. Yet the tactic of the early exchanges in the second period were to kick for touch. On 4 separate occasions with first phase ball, Salts kicked for the line only to be out-jumped by North, who returned the ball with interest for another line-out. The kicks were too frequent and not deep enough into North territory to bring any sense of pressure to bear. North broke the deadlock 15 minutes into the half with another well-worked move, which saw fly half Ben Lewis chip the ball high for the oncoming back line to pounce on a strung-out Salts defence close to the line. Centre Al Cooper gathered the ball and crossed to give the visitors a 22-6 lead. Hildred made the kick and promptly added a penalty 3 minutes later. The score was 27-6 in favour of the visitors. Finally, the kicking ping-pong ceased and Salts began to run through the centre, with strong carries from captain Adam Lee and the accompanying pack. The gain line was crossed repeatedly and Salts had caused disorganisation in the North defensive lines. Tom Lee finally scored a consolation try for Salts after sustained pressure had moved him close to the line, and his scuttling kick had meant that the North winger was put under too much pressure and made error. The kick from Beattie was good, but in the end Salts had left the effort too late to make a difference to the final result. Immediately after the game, I caught up with an elated Bridgnorth captain Gareth Bladen and asked him if he'd enjoyed the game.
Yeah, delighted. It's been a really tough season, you know, lots of injuries, a lot of people after university retiring. So, you know, it's been tough. We've been down there in the relegation battle. Great win last week against Visions, and we just used that momentum to come into this game and dig out that win.
You came very hard in the forwards, but I mean, we had forward dominance there, but you seemed to just take it wide and that was the end of us. Yeah,
we knew you got a big pack, but we just wanted to try and suck you in and then just spin it out wide and try and pick them off. And we didn't have many chances. I think we had the 3 and we took them, so we're delighted to take the opportunities and come away with a win.
Your kicker was Mustard.
Oh, yeah, he's a great kicker. He's been struggling with leg injury all season, but he comes out every week. He says that he's going to be injured for like months, and then he'll be down there on Tuesday still kicking, and yeah, he's vital to our team.
So where is it off to next week?
We've got Wolverhampton at home. You know, it's our own only local derby left at the moment, and we beat them over at their place. Really tough game, so we're looking forward to that one.
Best of luck for next week, mate.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you very much.
Finally, I talked to a disconsolate Adam Lee who had some strong words for his own team. Tough game, mate.
Yeah, it was. We didn't really turn up in the first 20 minutes, first 60 minutes even. We seem to wait until the game's lost before we believe that we can win it at the moment. So
I've got to say the backs looked a little bit disconnected from the forwards. The forwards were pushing all over the place. We were winning through the centre, but then when we went wide we seemed to lose it, and we lost it in defence as well a little bit. Yeah, we had some young lad called up from the second team on the wing. Defensively, just a little bit of inexperience. They scored 2 tries on the overlap, which was frustrating because we're working at
coming up and pushing out, and we were defending too narrow, unfortunately, and they got around the corner on us.
But I mean, the second half, we started off at the after the kickoff, and we kicked away a lot of ball there for lineouts, and we hadn't really done very well in the line most of the game.
Well, at half time, Nick says he didn't want us to play in our half, he wanted us to play up there, so we told Tom and Lewis to put the ball down there, which is exactly what they did. Eventually we got the ball, we started turning over some of their line outs, and it started to push on with a bit of pressure. Last
15 definitely made some good yards up the centre, and running it along the ground certainly paid dividends.
Yeah, we I think like I said, we knew the game was lost, and we just threw everything at it. I think people are maybe pacing themselves. We're not as fit as we should be. People are pacing themselves to last the whole game, and in the last 20 they're really giving it everything they got, when they should be doing that from the first whistle. And man of the match for you, Wayne? Yeah. Lots of hard contact today, did very well. Yeah, it's what I like to do. So. Good man, well done. So Salts have several weeks now to move away and regroup, with the final 2 fixtures coming a month apart thanks to the demise of Lordswood Dixonians. With 1 relegation slot to be filled, local rivals Tamworth look likely to draw the wooden spoon, but the end of season match between Salts and Vesians could hold far more importance than Salts currently anticipate. That's the end of Salts TV for this week. Next weekend sees Old Salts seconds and thirds away at Woodrush RFC and Claverden RFC respectively. The following week, first team are back in action against Silhillians away, and Bridgnorth are hosting Old Salts second 15. Then Salts seconds are at home on the 29th of March, and also on the 6th of April, Salts seconds and thirds are both at home. Please get along and support if you possibly can. Thanks for watching.